Well, Major, you're here with me, and that was just an appetizer for a remarkable night to come. We're joined by the senior editor for The Atlantic, Alex Wagner.
Great to see you guys.
Great to see you.
Everybody's waking up today, perhaps going to bed last night thinking, oh, that was a nice speech by Melania Trump. It certainly hit the marks. It didn't do any undue damage.
Those who are not on Twitter went to sleep
those
thinking
people
that.
who were lucky to be asleep, Josh.
But now we've learned that there is a paragraph, 22 of 26 words, 58 words in total, that appears to have been lifted almost entirely from a speech given at the 2008 convention by Michelle Obama. The Trump campaign has responded, well, their response has evolved. First from it didn't happen to perhaps she subconsciously lifted it to, and I'm going to now read the latest. This is from Paul Manafort. There's no cribbing of Michelle Obama's speech. These were common words and values that she cares about her family and things like that. I mean, she was speaking in front of 35 million people last night. She knew that. To think she would be cribbing Michelle Obama's words is crazy. This is once again an example of when a woman threatens Hillary Clinton, how she seeks out to demean her and take her down. It's not going to work. It would appear that the Trump campaign's official response is to blame Hillary Clinton for what we've seen. What do you both make of it?
I think two things happen here. One, for a media that has been skeptical of the Trump infrastructure and has questioned whether is this campaign ready for prime time, are they staffed up, this is going to be further confirmation that, okay, they don't have their act together. For Trump supporters who have sort of seen this gulf between the candidate and the media, this is further evidence that there's media bias. The Trump campaign is going to use that to their advantage and say, here is the liberal media out to get Melania Trump. They are basically a faction of the Clinton campaign. It is going to exacerbate tensions that have already existed thus far.
Right, so let's go through the ritualistic piling on, okay? So let's actually play the roles. If we're going to play the roles, let's play them. Facts matter. Campaign infrastructure, as Alex mentioned, matters. This is a sloppy move. It's just pure sloppiness. Melania Trump told Matt Lauer of NBC on the flight here she wrote it.
Yeah. Almost
entirely by herself. What does the Trump campaign say? It completely refutes that, refutes the words of the woman who gave the speech by saying it was all these writers and a fragment of her thinking, et cetera, et cetera. And then seeing neither of those explanations work, take hold, obtain any purchase, what is the Trump campaign's reaction? What has, I would also say, been the general Republican reaction when in distress and you need to break glass because it's an emergency? Blame Hillary.
Yeah.
Right.
So to put Hillary in this conversation is curious in the sense that it helps pull your supporters in a different direction, tug them into a different direction, but it doesn't address the underlying issue. The underlying issue is the similarities of the speech. You could say, you know what, somebody blew it. And they misserved Melania, who could be our next first lady. That's not going to happen again. Day two starts now. Let's move on. That's a very simple way to deal with it.
Well, to Alex's point, it's something you and I have discussed, Major. It also, what does this say about the campaign, or frankly, lack thereof?
It does point to a hole, right? I mean, many of the things we hear tonight and tomorrow and the night after have not been vetted, right? And this brings to the fore the lack of preparation, the lack of coordination, perhaps the lack of quality control,
for the one moment that was to matter,
which is a huge moment for the Trump campaign. And someone somewhere did the wrong Google, right? I mean, you can't blame the Trump campaign for looking at the 2008 convention speech, but somewhere along the way, no red flags were raised, and that is a problem for this campaign as it moves forward.
Three things happened yesterday that should not have happened in a well-orchestrated first day of a convention. The rules fight, which they knew was coming, went on for 15 minutes with lengthy demonstrations from the floor. They wanted to shut that down. That was their intent. So if that's your intent, then shut it down. Have your rally squads come out on the floor, strike up the band, hold your sign, shout them down, and move on. That takes about 3 minutes, not 16.
Yeah.
Problem one. Two, Giuliani went way over schedule, blew the entire primetime lineup out of kilter. Not supposed to happen. It's just not supposed to happen. And then Melania's speech. So three things that were in control of the campaign should have been executed more efficiently, we're not.
And it left one of the few sitting senators who agreed to speak here, Joni Ernst, delivering a speech
to an empty
hall.
Well, and I would also say, I'd add one more thing. The Trump campaign has created problems where none necessarily needed to exist in its sort of confab about the sitting governor of the state of Ohio, John Kasich, calling him petulant. I mean, they have started a war on his home turf. That is not a good thing that you want to deal with.
Doesn't help in a swing state.
Either.
And let's be honest, the reason that rules fight occurred on the floor yesterday, one of the reasons, is because on Saturday, in a moment of was supposed to be about party unity, talking about Mike Pence, what does Trump say about the never Trump delegates? We crushed them. We crushed them. Dude. Relax. You won.
Come on.
You're the nominee. Just let it go. Yeah. But there is something about him and about those around him who don't want to let things like that go. They want to sort of pick the fights. And so for people who are not sold on Trump, they're like, well, we'll fight back.
It had him calling into a competing network during his own convention. If nothing else, it certainly suggests we have absolutely no idea what we might see.
And this thing is by the hair of our chinny chin chin. The fact that Donald Trump spoke on day one of the convention. Now, you called it a WWE entrance. I think it's more David Copperfield. Some people are saying it's The Apprentice. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's the bad. Does that diminish the sort of the get on day 4? Unclear, but it's unprecedented.
Well, and Major, I'll get you out of here on this one. You said yesterday, as we've discussed for months, that if he turned a primary season into a television show, this is the actual television show part now.
Not as good as the campaign television show.
Possibly high bar to get over.
Exactly. How do you put a TV show on better than the one you've been running through the primary campaign? Hard to do. One thing about last night, when the Trump element of it was over, people started streaming out of this arena, which tells you two things. The celebrity factor is inescapable. And so when that show's over, people who are Republicans left their convention.
Yeah.
So is this about Trump or is it about the party? I think that's another subtext.
You know the answer to that, Major.
Right. It is about Trump.
Questions we've been asking for some time. So that's fair to say. Alex Wagner, you're going to be with us all week. Really look forward to that.
I'll be around.
What a great get that is. Come on.
You flatter. You flatter. I'll take it.
And Major Garrett on his way to somewhere, if only downstairs, and some attractive footwear, I might add.
There he goes.
We appreciate the time this morning.
Thanks.